Welcome, people, to the second episode of the Animo Podcast. Today joining me is loyal, just like Iris, loyal Animember, Lola Vos. Welcome, Lola.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And it was kind of funny because at the moment where I was recording the first episode of the podcast with Iris, right after we finished that podcast, you uploaded the message on Facebook that you have published a new paper.
Yes.
And that immediately sparked my attention because obviously that's what we'd like to talk about. And it is what we're going to talk about today. So you made a review on Diggit, which has been published. For what course?
Intermediality was last year for Inge de Ven.
Yeah. So it's a review of a movie called Ladybird. It's not on Netflix, unfortunately. So for for those of you who only watch movies on Netflix, I'm sorry. But I read the review and it was a good review, well written.
Thank you.
I also liked the fact that it wasn't purely a review, but also combined the literature and the stuff, the theory from the lecture, which made it a bit theoretical and academic as well, which I liked. So maybe you can take us through the movie to start.
Sure. Well, it's directed by Greta Gerwig, who is a woman, which is actually essential to the story, believe me. And basically it's about a girl who changes her name to Ladybird because she wants to be, she wants to be different and she hates her small town. It's all very edgy. And it's in Sacramento, California, which is actually where Greta Gerwig also grew up. So I feel like that makes it also very personal already. And yeah, it's just basically her life. Her going to high school. She goes to a Catholic girl school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's just her trials and tribulations through everything. Because, like I said, she's trying to be very edgy, very, different. So that's it comes with a lot of problems, I guess. She basically at the end of the movie, it's kind of a spoiler, but also she alludes to it at the start.
You're allowed to spoil.
Thank you. Okay. Well, she goes to New York because that's what she thinks is culture is, and it's basically her fulfilling her dream of leaving her town. But then she kind of realizes that New York is not everything that she thought it was, and it's still just still the same people who might be shitty, and I don't know. It's just there's nothing like a really big plot line or anything. It's just about her going through her life, and she has a lot of troubles with her parents, especially her mom, and it's just accepting the fact who she is. And I think it's really beautiful.
Do you think it's a feel-good movie, or is it like a infuriating, frustrating movie?
No, I don't know. I think it's a feel-good movie. I mean, obviously there's I think the Ladybird is very frustrating sometimes because she's making the wrong decisions, and her mom is also, I could not stand her mom, even though, in the end you realize she's only a person and she has her good sides. But I mean, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor in there. It's very dry humor. And I do know that for a lot of people it is a comfort movie that they watch that you can just throw on in the background and, get lost in the movie, I guess. It's very easy to watch as well, so feel good, definitely.
And do you think it's a comedy, or is it a rom-com, or is it?
No, it's a comedy. I mean, she has romantic interest in the movie, but they don't really lead to anything. And they are one of the guys that she's interested in turns out to be gay. So it's it's not a romantic comedy, right, definitely not.
Okay. Well, at least it's something else.
Yes,
something different.
That's true. Yeah,
for
that's true.
All these romantic comedies, Okay. And then in the paper you had to analyze it, obviously, for the review. First of all, what kind of rating did you give it? Did you like the movie?
Oh, yes, I definitely liked the movie. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie of all time. I feel like it's because a lot of people identify with this movie because of who she is as Ladybird, and also because of very relatable moments with her mom. which is a very big part of the movie. But I have a great relationship with my mom. Like, all the stuff that gets talked about it, I don't relate at all. And also, like, the fact that he goes to, like, Catholic school, like, the religious trauma almost, I don't have that either. So I feel like that's, that kind of takes away from how much I really treasure it, I guess. But still, if I had to give it, like, a rating out of 5, I would give, like, a 4, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good still.
It's a pass.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. And about the theoretical part of your review, how did you combine the theoretical part with the review and with the movie?
Well, when I first wrote the review, it was quite early on in the course, so we didn't have, like, a lot of theory yet. And during the course we had to pick, like, 3 assignments, I think. And at first I was like, I'm not gonna write a review because I don't know, I don't want to, like, write about my opinions. I feel like that's not gonna give me, like, a high grade because that's fake. But then I started looking at it and I saw, like, I read a lot about Ladybird because I was like, if I'm gonna do a review, I'm gonna want to write about Ladybird. And I read articles and watched YouTube videos, and suddenly I was like, oh, this is actually kind of connecting to the theory in the. Like, I kind of had to bend the theory in a way to make it fit my idea, but I think that worked out in the end.
Okay.
So I had to be a bit more creative. But
And can you get into the theory at all? Do you remember at least?
Yes. Well, one of them was about the immediacy, so that you actually feel like you are in the movie, or, that's like the most technical way, but I made it a bit more, like, I don't know, fitting to Ladybird.
Right.
Because, for example, the movie, it takes place in 2002, and obviously that means that Greta Gerwig had to make changes to, how the characters looked and what things they were concerned with in their life.
From what year is the movie?
2017.
Okay, so it's basically a flashback.
Yeah, it's kind of like a period piece almost.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I feel like that is already an element of immediacy, like the fact that, like, they are wearing, like, the puka shell necklaces, and I mean, those are kind of trendy again, but they are, like, to certain people, they are trendy.
Let's not go there.
But, in 2002, that was also, like, a fashion statement. And, I don't know. Also, there is, like, a scene where Ladybird is watching TV, and you hear, like, in the background, you hear them talking about the Iraq War?
Right. Which was
something like that,
yeah, it was big back then.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, stuff like that, it immediately takes you to that time period of 2002, and, like, I was 2 back then, so obviously I don't have a lot of memories from it.
Same.
But I feel like a lot of people who might be a lot older when they were in 2002, they just get transported back to that time, I feel like, because it's so telling of, those times, those years.
Do you think that's a conscious choice by the director?
Yeah, well, I think so, because what I read is that Greta Gerwig really tries to kind of make it an autobiography, and around that time, I'm guessing, she was around the age of Ladybird, which is like 16, 17. So yeah, I feel like in Sacramento as well, which is where she grew up, and I feel like, that was very, like, I don't know, like a big time in her life that was really telling for where she is now. So I do think it's, I mean, I don't think she just randomly picked 2002,
Okay.
This is a nice year.
All right. So you believe that it's some sort of like a portal or a window in which you can look back at the past.
Yeah. And then taking that back to immediacy, like you feel like you are in that time period.
Right,
so.
Right. And do you think it celebrates that time, or is it a bit of a shadowy, dark time?
No, interesting. I don't think it really says anything, actually. It's just like, Ladybird, she's, like, pissed off about everything in life, so she probably wouldn't really like that year. She says something about the year of 2002, because it's like, I don't know what that's called, but how it's like, if you flip the numbers, it still sells like 2002.
Right.
So she says something, I think she says something along the lines of being like, that's so, like, extraordinary, like I want to be like that or something like that.
And when you flip it around, it's still the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like so interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then was that the only kind of theory you used, or did you combine it with anything else?
No, I did something. Two more things that I wrote about is there was also this aspect of multimediality, which I mean, in theory, that's kind of like very basic. It's like what every movie is.
Right.
It's it's like music with visuals.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have a like a movie without music.
Right.
Well, you can. But,
Is it also music from 2002?
Yes. Yeah, and the 90s.
90s.
Well, like yeah.
And do you think that adds a big element to the movie? Does it help with the immediacy, for instance?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely, like I said, I have no recollection of 2002 or the music that was playing back then, but I feel like, how you hear like a song now and you immediately get reminded of a certain time in your life.
It takes you back.
Yeah. Immediacy,
Right, immediacy.
Yeah, amazing words.
Just use that every instance you get.
I will. It's very immediate, the movie.
All right. And then, so you got immediacy, you got multimediality, and the final one?
Well, it's about, what's his name? It's a scholar, but basically he said like the medium is a message, which basically says that the medium impacts how we, watch a movie or understand like a book or whatever, something like that. And I think that the message of Lady Bird is also very important. Like I said at the start, Greta Gerwig is a woman, and in Hollywood, women aren't really as celebrated as much as men.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. It's still really much a struggle, and I didn't... At the time of writing this, I knew about it, but I didn't really realize how big the problem is, because, like you hear about inequality in a lot of fields, but I feel like Hollywood is one of the biggest things. Like, I share this fact a lot, but the Oscars, it's like the biggest thing in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It has been going on since 1927.
Yeah.
Yes, and every year, of course, there are nominations and winners, and since then, there's only been one female director who won, and the rest are all men.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's crazy, and I think there's like 5 women who were nominated, and then one winner. That's insane.
Yeah.
But then like I said, Greta Gerwig is a woman, so it's great that she, even got the chance to make it this big, because the movie did get nominated for Oscars.
It got nominated.
Yes, and also Best Actress for the Saoirse Ronan, who played Lady Bird.
Okay.
But yeah, what I thought about the message is that it was very much about women and femininity and getting to know yourself as a woman and your place in the world. As it's not about anything. It's just about a girl living her life and the struggles that she comes up with. And like I said, I might not relate to every part of the story, but I like the way she handles herself and certain struggles that she encounters. That's definitely just something like, I feel like that's almost a universal women experience, And the movie is very like, I feel like it almost screams like femininity. It's like the pastel colors and the Lady Bird's pink hair, and it's all it's just very pretty to look at.
Yeah. Do you think it might have been like almost a statement or an aggressive shot at the Hollywood industry and the movie industry?
I would like to think so.
Like you say that she's very angry about everything.
Yeah.
Do you think that's intentional and might be directed by the director and producer to the whole industry?
I mean, I would like to think so, because like the one woman who won the best director for the Oscars, the movie she made was like a war movie, which is like, once again, it's very like a male type of like stereotypical male idea.
Yeah.
And then this is the complete opposite. And I would like to that it would be a great great thing if it is so. And also the fact that she's angry, it's so emotional, it's
right,
which is again like a stereotypical female thing. So it goes against almost everything, I feel like.
Is there kind of like a gender struggle in the movie as well, where there's stereotypical males against stereotypical females, or is that not part of the movie?
I don't think so explicitly, but there is like it is very much focused around women. Like I said, like female main character, which is already a big thing, and then she has a best friend who's also a girl, and it's about her relationship with her mom, who's also a woman, and then stuff like that. But then the guys who are in the movie, most of them aren't that great. Like one of the guys that she kind of has a thing for, he turns out to be like a huge asshole, and kind of used her to sleep with her. So
right.
Yeah, it's different than what you normally see.
So do you think the males are stereotypical, but the females are outside of that spectrum?
I guess, yeah, because Lady Bird's very, I don't know, if you have like a main character, most of the time the main characters are very, like, a lot of people have to be able to relate to them, or at least stand them as a main character. And like I said, Lady Bird really frustrated me sometimes. But in the best way, it's great that she can elicit emotions like that. And then the guys are a lot more flat, I feel like.
Not that much personality.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because if you think about classical like superhero movies or war movies or any kind of movie starring a male actor, it's always that especially in action movies, for instance, that the man is strong and violent, and the woman is basically saying, take care of everything for me.
The damsel in distress.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting that this movie kind of does the exact opposite, makes the man look, or gives the man a less prominent role, which I think is refreshing, and I'd like to see more of, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially when you say, when you give the fact that the Oscars have been around for so long, but there's only 5 nominations and 1 winner for an Oscar by a female director. I do think that's a problem, because obviously it should be equal, like so much in the world. But let's not get depressing.
Well,
we can talk about that for hours.
Yes.
And I think in the end we'd basically agree on everything, so there's not really a point of having a discussion. Well, I think
Watch your back. Okay.
All right. So that basically covers the theory of your article. And I would also like to talk about the process of writing the article. So you explained that when you we got the choice to do a couple of different kinds of assignments, and you at first you didn't really think you would want to write a review, but then you started looking into the movie and doing some research on it. So you kind of instantly knew the topic of the review. So we can basically scratch that part from my question list, because with Iris in the first episode I asked how did you get to the topic, but you kind of had this in mind. Was it because you just saw the movie, or because it's so prominently in your mind?
Well, I think I wanted to do another movie at first, and I looked at theory for that one. I don't remember which one it was, but I hadn't watched the movie in a while then, but I don't know why it stood out to me. Maybe I just saw like a video about it or something, and then I started like looking at, because there's a lot of videos about it and articles about it, because it's just like overly analyzed, which I mean is really nice, but it also makes my job a lot easier to write.
You can just quote everything.
Literally. Inge, I didn't. I wrote everything myself. All the ideas are mine.
Just a quick statement, getting the facts out there.
Okay, well, no, it did inspire me a lot, and then I know it's like a lot of times I twist around with some topics, and then sometimes it just like it's just a breakthrough, and I'm like, this part I can connect to this theory and stuff like that, and then it just fits, and well, there you have it.
What's the moment where you get that breakthrough? Because for me, I know what you're talking about. For me, I always have it when I'm in the shower.
I don't know actually. I think it's just most of the time it's just I just watch videos or read articles or something like that, and then sometimes I'm immediately like, okay, this is not gonna work, and then I look for something else, and I don't know, I try to have like on one tab I have like all my notes, so I know the literature and stuff that I have to incorporate, and then I just try to connect everything that I see or read about it. I try to connect it to theory, and if that's like like sometimes it's very obvious that I'm like, I'm not gonna write about it in articles. It's nothing new or inspiring or whatever. And sometimes I'm like, oh, if I connect it this way and then I change it like this a little bit, and then it's all like a certain different story, you know. And then that's what I try to do anyway.
So you start with the theory and then you combine it with with what you want to write about.
Yeah, I don't just write something and then try to connect to the theory. I try to immediately find the theory that fits with it.
Okay.
And otherwise I won't write about it.
Okay. I have to say I do it the complete opposite.
Great.
I mean, I always...
And how many articles of yours are published?
0. Maybe that's a problem.
Hate to bring it up.
No, the thing is, for me, I've gotten a couple of possibilities to publish articles, but I never can be bothered to
I get that.
revise everything. Also, because like it's courses from the first year, and we're both in the third year, so it's been so long that I would have to do all the research again to basically revise it. So I just can't be bothered. But I mean, I would like to publish something, obviously, but it's also that I want to do something where I'm really passionate about. So that's a bit of a struggle, obviously, because I assume you've also read papers where you're like, I'm doing this for the grade and not really because I'm super passionate about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not too many, actually. I can only think of one right now.
And that one is?
For Inge again, sorry. The one we had to do for Truth or Fiction. I wrote about a documentary. What's it called again? It's about psychedelics and a lot of celebrities. It's on Netflix. That one is on Netflix. Oh. But I mean, it was fun to write, but I was like, I didn't know what else to write about, so I just picked the documentary, and that was just got released. So I was like, oh, might as well do this one.
Right.
So
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's one from like the first year's courses where it was very much like still focused on digital media, which is not the major I picked. So then it was it was about YouTubers. I wrote about Shane Dawson and Jake Paul and stuff.
Fun.
The nice guys on YouTube.
Well, I agree with you. And also for me, it was with language, culture, and globalization. That was like the first article we ever had to write. Yeah. And I was so passionate about it. And I put so much effort into it. And it was like my like baseball and globalization and
I remember that actually.
And it was super fun to write, and then it just said no, it's not good enough. And then that basically crushed me. So at that moment I was like, okay, fuck
That's
it,
harsh.
I'll never do it again.
Oh no.
Yeah, I guess Shaq ruined it for me.
It's your fault, Shaq. That's why we're here now.
If I didn't have Shaq, or if he had liked the paper, I would have had published so many papers.
He could have been a writer now for New York Times.
Obviously.
Shaq, look what you've done.
Okay, and how does your overall writing process look like? Do you bang it out at one moment, or do you take some time?
Kind of depends on like how stressed I am and how many other stuff I have to do. But no, normally I write like, if it's like a 2,000 words paper, I write like 400, 500 words every day. And then most of the time that is one, like I said, I connect it to theory, so that's mostly one part of the theory, and then like I explain the theory for a bit, and then I connect it to the like whatever I'm analyzing. And that's then one part, and then I do it like every day a bit, and then at the end I make edits and stuff like that.
Okay.
And most of the time it works really well.
Yeah.
So.
And then take me through the process of after it's been looked at, it's been read by the teacher, which is Inge in this case.
Yes.
How quickly did you get an answer from her, like, hey, this is publishable, but you have to do this?
Well, from Inge I got very quickly, because obviously she had to grade it, and I think I got like a 8.5.
Wow.
So don't mean to flex.
Flex.
Yeah, I still know. But it's actually funny because it's the first one that we wrote, this one, the review, but it's the last one that got published from my all the ones I wrote for Inge for that course, because it's been like almost a year. So like Inge was very quick. I think it took me a while for it to edit, because obviously I had other university stuff going on. So then I edited her feedback, and then it always takes a while before you get another feedback from another editor. But then it was on accepted for publication or waiting for publication for so long. I feel like it was almost like 6 months, and I totally forgot about it. Actually, I had so many other articles that I was was fresh in my mind that I was thinking about, and then I don't know when it was exactly like October or something. Then I got an email from Eco being like, "Oh, it's gonna be published next week." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I totally forgot. I never expected this to get published, but sure.
Right. Okay, so for you it took a long time for it to be published.
I mean, I kind of forgot what I wrote, what I exactly said, because like I said, almost a year ago. So.
Did you have a lot of revisions that needed to be done? Or was it a little bit, few changes?
I think so. It was just, I think Inge said something about my theory that I had to change it a little bit, and then the other stuff was mostly like grammatical work. Oh, and Inge did say, I think she said, because I say in the article that it's so important that there's like a movie based around women and made by women on the screens right now and in Hollywood. And she was like, is it true that women there's a lack of female representation in Hollywood? And I was like, oh, yes there is. Yes there is, Inge. So she kind of doubted it, but then I think I put something in like a source where it says that there is an inequality. So.
Okay. All right. So you lectured Inge.
Yes. I like to think so, yes.
All right. Well, it's interesting definitely to hear about your experience with the process of Diggit. Did you also have other experiences where it got published really quickly, since you've published multiple articles?
I think the first one that we wrote for Sjaak, the one that he did like,
Right.
Not yours, but mine he liked.
Flexing again.
Yes.
I see what you mean.
That one got published relatively quickly, I feel like. It was one of the first ones, and it was also in the first semester. But I also think that they try to publish the first years first. No bias, but I think there is one.
Okay.
Don't mean to call them out.
Interesting theory. Might write a paper about it.
Well, no, Sjaak is gonna shut it down then. You're not gonna get it published.
And we'll never get one published.
Because in the first year, I can remember, they just came out left, right, and center, everything published.
Wow.
And then during the second year, it was a bit of a more slow process. I feel like. I don't know if that has to do with what I was writing or just the fact that, more students.
I also think it depends on the track we chose, because we've both chosen art in the public sphere. Yeah. And I think that's less relevant to what goes up on Diggit.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's less click-worthy, obviously.
Oh, yes. I noticed a huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, if you write something about racism or racism
Ellen.
online, or Ellen DeGeneres.
Iris. She knows what she's doing. She's finessing the algorithm.
if you play the algorithm like that, then...
but we don't, because we stay true to what we believe in.
We're pure. Yeah, yes. Pure souls. That's why I publish so many papers.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting to think about, at least.
Yeah, no, but I said this before we started recording. You called me out for saying that it wasn't in one of the top read sections, this article about Ladybird. Right. And I was like, yeah, well, I wrote so many, I wrote something about poetry, and I wrote something about, it was also for Inge's course, the same course, and Ladybird and stuff like that, and they never show up in any of the pages. While my article on the K-pop fandom on Twitter, it was most read this month, for a while, which is something completely different. Yeah. Obviously, I understand that K-pop attracts a lot of people. Yeah. And something like an Insta poet that maybe not a lot of people have heard about doesn't, but it would interest me more. Yeah. It's just art. Exactly. Art doesn't really get a lot of clicks.
No, I guess not.
The struggling of the artists. Already feeling it.
Oof. Whole other conversation coming in. Yeah. Well, it's great to talk to you about the paper you've read, and I actually like the paper a lot to read it. I read it before this podcast. It was well written. It's easy to read, which is really good. And I think people should read it. Should definitely go read it, because it's very interesting, and try to see the movie as well, because
that's for sure.
I have to be honest, I haven't seen it, but knowing now that it could be very important to the industry in Hollywood, that makes me interested in it and makes me want to go see it. So that's good. I think we've covered the paper enough.
Yes.
Let's just talk a bit about how you are doing with COVID and university life and stuff like that. So what's been going on in your life?
Well, my year is looking different than I expected, but I feel like that's for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, like ever since university started again, I'm like during the like March, May, that was kind of hard. It was like I was gonna go on exchange. This like right now was supposed to be in the UK, which obviously didn't happen.
Got cancelled, right?
Yep. And I had like plans in the summer to go like to Italy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, also it could have happened, but I was like maybe not smart to do it, so I didn't. Like now we start the new year, doing my minor. I moved, so that's also a lot of fun. So now I feel like I have more contact now than I did in May.
Mm-hmm.
We have like Animo events quite often, like once a month at least, and then also other stuff around it. And I like doing my minor. It's different than what I'm used to. Like I mostly have online culture courses and one philosophy course. But yeah, I'm dealing okay. It's better than it used to be.
Better than the first wave.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I was just at home with my parents, and you get over it after a while.
Yeah, I understand.
Nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's nice because, some people really like studying at home and just watching lectures or following Zoom lectures. How are you dealing with that? Is that something you enjoy, or do you prefer like physical lectures?
Well, yeah, obviously I prefer physical lectures just for the fact of just being on campus, seeing everybody. Obviously that's a huge part of university life. Mm-hmm. But I don't mind Zoom that much. It's kind of like it almost helps me sometimes, because sometimes I can't like go to a lecture right now. I'll just watch it later. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes when I have to study for something, I'm like, I don't understand this. I can just rewatch the lecture again. Mm-hmm. That's like actually comes very handy.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. And how is your attention during the lectures? Do you find it hard to keep paying attention during Zoom lectures?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Like the amount of time I spent on my phone is definitely higher than it was if I'm on campus.
Right. Yeah.
But I still try to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to take notes, like I do when I'm on campus. So yeah, it's not ideal, but it's not for everybody, for anybody. I feel like.
What about your courses? Do you like your courses?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I picked quite safe options. I feel like I knew almost all the professors from online culture, and they're a lot of fun. And it's definitely because obviously we have art in the public sphere, and now I have a lot of courses from digital media, which is something completely different. It's like about politics and everything, which is also very interesting. Journalism, so yeah, something different. It's just good old online culture, Right. I knew what to expect, and it's good. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I have online culture classes only, and that's purely because when I looked through the course catalog, every time I saw a title of a course that seemed interesting to me, whenever I clicked it said online culture. So that was pretty much a coincidence, but it also means that I've picked the right study program. Definitely. Obviously.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that you're doing well. Mm-hmm. What about work? You still work? Because I know you used to work in the Markthal in Rotterdam.
Well, I have to work this Friday, which is new, but I haven't worked in a very long time. Okay. Simply because it's an independent business, and the less people that work with my boss, he has to pay less money.
Right.
So he tries to work as much as possible by himself. Mm-hmm. So then I don't get an opportunity to work, unfortunately.
Okay. But you're still employed?
Yes. Yes, I am. Just I don't see any of it, but I am. Also during the first wave, there was obviously, I think the Markthal was open, but I don't think anybody ever came there.
Right.
And now it's a bit better, because obviously now that all the restaurants were closed, the next best option is the Markthal. So it's better than it used to be, but still not great.
Yeah. I would also, because for the people who haven't been to the Markthal, it's a giant building in the city center of Rotterdam. And you have like a lot of different small stalls and stores where you can buy food and stuff like that. Tea, I think they sell, and spices.
A lot of different things.
Yeah.
Coconut balls.
Come on,
Madame Cocos, yes. We need a promotion.
Drop by on Friday. Wait.
Yes.
No, when this comes out, this Friday has already been passed. So
if I'm working, I'm on Sunday. So get to it.
Buy some cocos balls.
Follow us on Instagram, Madame Cocos Markthal, Facebook.
You should get a percentage of the earnings now.
I will. I'll text my boss.
Hey, I promoted it.
Yes.
So I earn work at least.
Please give me money.
Yeah, so it's this giant building with a lot of stalls, but I do understand...
A lot of tourists.
Yeah, a lot of tourists. Mostly tourists.
Oh, yeah.
I think most people from Rotterdam,
they avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. Especially on like Tuesdays and Saturdays, because that's when there's like a regular market in front of the Markthal.
Yep.
You can buy everything for like 10 cents.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think that's where most people go. But it's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
It's a very different and unique building.
Also the apartments are
Yep.
at the outside. So if you have an apartment, you can look into the Markthal, which is also very cool. Yeah, it's quite recent actually. It's quite new.
Well,
relatively new.
Relatively new, yeah. Didn't it open in like 2015 or something?
Oh, that's quite new.
5 years.
Yes.
Well,
for something that's so like already so characteristic of Rotterdam.
Yeah.
For 5 years.
Yeah. That's
all the
true.
other stuff has been there for like ages. Well, after the Second World War.
Yeah.
Because everything got bombed.
We got bombed.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, oh well. But I mean, I do understand why people would avoid it though, because the spaces are very narrow and it could be very busy.
Yeah, like even, like not considering Corona, like I avoid it. Like if I have to work and I have to walk through it to get to the stall, oh god, it's horrible. Everybody walks so slowly and it's just not it.
Everybody's just looking around.
Yeah, and now, especially with Corona, it's not great.
All right. Okay. Well, have you ever been there since Corona, or have you? Do you remember the last time you've worked?
Well, during the first wave, I didn't work, and then during the summer, I worked like almost every week, so that was normal again. And then last time I worked was probably in October, I think.
Was it busy then?
Well, obviously it was nowhere near as busy as it used to be, but I was so surprised by how many tourists were there. And it was already when the Netherlands was kind of going into another lockdown. And there were like German people, French people, people from Asia. Literally, it was mostly tourists. And like, how did you get here? Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. So do you think this was before? Because now I think the country is on red.
Yeah, it was when it was orange. And they were still there.
Still come, yeah.
And then you have to quarantine for like 10 days or something if you get back.
And maybe even if you come here, it depends on the country you come from. If you come from a red country, I think you have to quarantine for 10 days first. Yeah,
but I don't know, like it was mostly tourists who were there, and I was just very confused by all of it.
Right. A lot of sales or not?
No. Like I don't want to say how much we normally make, but it's like 10% of what we normally do. Something like that. Yeah.
Nobody wants cocos balls.
Why not? Well, some people do like go out of their way to get them from us. Yeah, they do.
Addicts.
Like, yes, exactly. No, even people from Rotterdam, they like specifically go here.
And do you work with a mask?
No, we don't. We are behind like a screen, so that's why we don't have to. But also masks weren't mandatory for a while. Like they were, and then they stopped for some reason. I don't know. Then it wasn't anymore. And well, now obviously it's mandatory everywhere when you're inside. But when I walk around, then go to the toilet, whatever, because I have to go downstairs to go to the toilet. Then I have to wear a mask.
Right.
But when I'm in the actual stall, I don't have to.
Okay.
But I mean, I have to clean my hands a lot. Yeah. Like every time I touch money, I have to clean whatever, you know. So obviously there's a lot of like safety measures.
So you still accept physical money?
Yeah, we do. But I mean, we rather that you pay with
obviously,
the cards,
yeah,
but if there's no other option, a lot of tourists like to pay with cash.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's interesting to get that view of what it's like to work in such a space like that in these times. Yeah. Do you miss working?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was just like I've had so much fun there. Like I just have a great boss, I have great colleagues, and even like during the week you normally work alone. Well, now you also always work alone during Corona, but even when I was working alone, like all these people I would see, like it was just fun people watching, because there's so many different kind of people, like from different parts of the world, and even Rotterdam, like people who live in Rotterdam, they sometimes show up, and then it's even fun to see, see them. Yeah, it was just, and I mean, I really like Rotterdam, so it's also great to just be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it's all gone right now.
It's shut down.
Yes.
And it's also like, it's interesting because the advice is to avoid Rotterdam altogether.
Yes.
And then, well, you're going to see on coming Friday.
Yeah, I'm going to go there. Against all advices.
Against all advice. But also to see how many people and how many tourists are still there, even though the advice is to stay clear of Rotterdam.
Mean, honestly, I see a lot of people still going to Rotterdam. Even people who live, like I come from Hoekswaard, which is underneath Rotterdam. A lot of people who I used to go to high school with, they still go to Rotterdam to their shop or do whatever. So, I mean, they are, like, I'm not calling them out, like, they are wearing masks and stuff. I'm pretty sure they're being as safe as possible, but yeah, they are not, it's not like Rotterdam is like a ghost town now. I feel like there's still a lot of people there.
How are you in all of this? Do you avoid places like that, or you try to do at least something?
Well, during the summer when everything was a lot easier, like I did quite a lot. We went out in Tilburg. We just, obviously we couldn't do a lot like we used to do, but we just, went from bar to bar, and we went out for dinner and stuff. So that back then, I did quite a lot. But now I really try to limit the people I see, and also know who I'm seeing, because if that person sees a lot of people, I'm also a bit more hesitant. And yeah, I only go to Rotterdam if I have to work, and then also if I'm seeing people like the next week and I've worked, I always tell them just to make sure. Like I'm pretty sure I will be fine, because I'm barely in any direct contact with people, but still it feels wrong not to say, because I'm there for like 6 hours, that's quite intense, and I have to like travel by public transport, metro, stuff like that. And yeah, big cities, like I was gonna go to Amsterdam in like, I don't know, like September. That also didn't happen. I was going to go to Utrecht. That also didn't happen. Yeah. I mean, I just tried to, I don't know, I just, not even for myself, just for others. It just feels wrong.
Yeah, I understand. And I forgot my question.
Great.
I can't remember what I was going to ask something, but maybe it'll pop up.
I bet it was so insightful. Now you're missing out on this question. I think
it was very insightful. I only ask insightful questions. Okay, well, I mean, I'm still trying to remember.
It was about Corona. Do you limit like people? Me being
I remember. Did you ever get a COVID test?
I didn't. Not yet.
Okay.
So far, I've been like literally just avoided it every time. I got a afkloppen because like then my girlfriend of my roommate got it, but then like it was fine, and then certain Animo members got it that I saw like 5 days before that.
Who did have it?
Leah.
Oh, did Leah have COVID?
Yes. Sorry, Leah, calling you out.
I didn't even know, but maybe she got
yesterday that she was immune.
Then I was like, okay, so she either got it or she got some type of weird blood type, or can't get it or something.
Imagine. No,
but I guess she got it from work or something.
Well, she doesn't know actually, but it was like on Saturday she got symptoms, and on Tuesday we saw her. So that's like the Tuesday before. So it's like 4 days. But and then she got her results back on like Thursday evening, and then it was positive. But that was already 9 days after we saw her, so that, like, we didn't have to quarantine, because the next day was the 10th day, and we didn't have any symptoms, because she didn't infect anybody. She lives with her boyfriend, at least in the same room, and he didn't get anything.
He didn't get
it? No, she lives with other roommates. They didn't get anything. She saw people on Friday and Thursday. They didn't get anything.
Wow.
Sorry, Lee, I'm really just putting this story out there. But it's crazy.
I mean, it's also difficult, of course, because you can be asymptomatic, which is one of the scariest things, I think. I got tested once. I was negative.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And that was literally the only time I ever had symptoms of anything. I haven't gotten a cold since.
No,
it was basically when I got tested. It was the weekend before. So on a Saturday, it was back when the cafes and bars were still open until 10,
times.
I think. Until 10. It was back then. I went to Utrecht, and with my girlfriend, we went to a cafe and sat outside on the terrace, so not even inside. And it got quite cold in the evening, and I had like a summer jacket on, so it was like just a thin jacket. And then a couple of days later, I was very, I just got a cold, you know. And I knew it was like that, but I just
it's
thought,
difficult.
Yeah, I just thought I better get tested.
Sure, yeah.
So it was negative, but I already knew it was negative, you know.
Yeah, I really want to get tested on like the antibodies, you know, see if I got it. Because in February I got very sick.
I know this.
Yeah, I went home. Yeah, I was in Tilburg already because I just was like, I'm gonna follow my lectures. And then on that Monday, I arrived in the morning and I left that evening back home. And literally, I couldn't eat anything because my throat hurted so bad. And I normally I love like cheese toasties, always my comfort food. And I hated it. I couldn't eat it because it tasted so bad.
But did you taste anything or was there no taste?
I don't really remember because back then, but you have to keep in mind, Corona wasn't in the
Not yet. In February it was...
But we didn't know. They do say now that they expected Corona to be here like way before that. So maybe I was the first patient.
You were patient 0.
Yes. Well, she's right here. But I don't know. I would like to... But then my parents didn't have any symptoms. So that's... But also...
Could be they are asymptomatic, but you don't know.
True. I mean, Leah has the same situation.
Yeah.
But also... That was on Monday, and on Saturday I went to my friend's birthday party and I slept for like 2 hours. So that might have something to do with it.
That could be a possible explanation, yeah. Well, it's definitely an interesting thing to think about. I do know with Picnic, where I work, there have been a couple of instances where people have COVID. They got tested positively. And that was, that's a bit difficult, of course, because that would mean that the person who was tested positive delivered groceries to like maybe, 20 people in a day. And we try to do it as safe as possible. And normally there's no contact. But you never know what could go wrong, because there's obviously a lot of people that don't believe it's as severe as it is, or that don't really care and
don't believe it, period.
Don't believe it. So that's difficult, because it would mean that I mean, I work with with a mask, and I often get looks of people like, what are you doing wearing a mask? It's bullshit anyway. So
well, ignore them.
Obviously.
Science over everything.
Yeah, true. So that's difficult, but then what my boss does really well is basically go around and see with whom that person has been in direct contact, with whom that person has been like sitting next to each other for 15 minutes or more, or whether they've just passed each other in the hallway, or whether they've been on the same they both worked on the same day, so they've been on the location on the same day. And the first we got 2 cases of 2 positive tests, and the first time I only got the notification that I was on the, what do you call that in English, like we call it a hub. I guess you can call it a hub. It's basically a place where we all depart from, and come back to it. And the first time I know that I was there at the same time as he was, but that was basically it. We didn't pass each other, we didn't sit next to each other, etc., etc. We just had to work on the same day, basically. And the second time, I wasn't even close to the person. I wasn't working at all when he was there. But I do know that some people did get into direct contact, and that resulted in more strict measures
obviously.
At my workplace, because obviously a lot of people count on us right now for delivering groceries.
I think it's only you're more important now than ever.
I mean,
you are personally a lot more important to society right now. Philip van Vuren, we wouldn't be able to do it without you.
I am carrying society on my back.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but it's been weird, and for the rest, I try to stay inside as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how are your parents doing with all of it?
Well, my mom works in an elderly home, so obviously she's quite at risk actually.
Yeah.
She works in like a separate house, but the main house already has like a lot of corona patients and like literally people dying, and she works with like I don't know, like 6 people with dementia. I think MCA is like one like room, whatever they are, and she said like if corona gets here, like they're all gonna die. Right. And that's obviously she's very careful.
Yeah.
Well, my dad, he works every day, and he works with a lot of other people, but I mean he's also, I feel like he's quite careful of them as well, like wearing like masks and stuff, and also like a few weeks ago he had a cold, and then he was like, you know, a bit more hesitant of like going out and stuff. Well, it wasn't anything, but still, you know, he really he pays attention to it. So, but yeah, it's mostly like if I get corona, like I'm pretty sure I'll be fine, but it's just like my parents, and then also like what I said, like my mother's patients, like that. That's not like I don't want that on my conscience, you know.
I understand. Yeah.
Even if it's not like I wouldn't say I was guilty of it, because it literally can happen to anybody. But if I know that I went to a party and then I got corona there, that's a bit different than if I went to the grocery store and I got corona, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my mom, she works at a daycare, a child's daycare. And that's a bit weird because, you know, a lot of children, they get sick and nobody really knows what to do with it. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know whether that's COVID or not. I don't think so. But so they often get like...
But how old are the children? Like, are they like 3,
I think they started like 1 until 4, I think. So,
really young children, right?
Young children, yeah. And my dad is a musician, for the people who don't know. So he's basically out of work. Has been since since March or something.
It's terrible.
So
what's he doing now? Is he just waiting?
Sitting at home.
Oh no!
Doing nothing.
So sad.
Yeah. Well, he has some things going on. So he's always making music on himself and making new songs, because that's something he can do at home. But like his primary source of income was gigs and performances and in the theaters. That's not happening. Well, he did a couple, but every time he did one, then the week after the measures got stronger again. So, but he is also very paranoid. Oh. He is very paranoid.
Okay. My parents aren't that paranoid. Like they are careful, but they are also like, you still have to live, you know.
Yeah. My dad, whenever we go back home, when I go back home, which is like every 2-3 weeks, I go back home for a weekend. He stands at the opposite side of the room at all times. Oh my God. Yeah,
it's intense.
Something, you know, something went wrong in his head. He just got so freaked out all of a sudden.
I mean, it is a scary time.
Yeah.
I can understand.
He lost a lot of weight.
Oh,
because
God.
Well, my dad has always been overweight. And he was 100 plus before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then the news got out that like people who are overweight.
Oh,
they are more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So he lost like 25 kilos.
Wow.
By just
in
not...
such a small
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Oh my god.
He went really overboard. It was so... it was so weird to see. But it's good because he's now a lot healthier,
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, my parents are smokers, so that's great for them.
But it's weird because sometimes they say, yeah, well, smoking is actually good for COVID.
Oh, I don't believe it for a second.
I don't either. But yeah. All right. I think we're getting to the end of the podcast. Let's see how long we've been going, which is fine. So thank you, Lola, for wanting to do this podcast with me. I think we had a lot of good conversations. I want to once again congratulate you on the published article or review. And I want to urge everybody to go read it. If you're interested in the movie, find a way to watch it.
I don't want to support it, but illegal websites. It's on there, baby.
Illegal websites. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you a lot. And
thank you.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.